Hello, everyone. Alex here from WeatherXM, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Karam, the CEO of Dabba, one of our partners doing a targeted rollout in India. So, Karam, say hello to everyone.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me. Great to be here. Super excited to chat about our collaboration.
Me too, me too. And I was hoping, I know our audience might not be familiar with your guys' project, so maybe we can start by, introducing your project and telling us a little bit about Dabba Wi-Fi.
For sure. So Dabba is all about providing Wi-Fi to emerging markets. Basically, we make it really easy for anyone, anywhere in the world to sponsor an internet connection for somebody that needs it and get rewarded in return. The reason we're doing this is that basically India has a ridiculous appetite for data at the moment. Demand for data is exploding. Although India is the second largest telecom market in the world with 800 million 4G, 5G subscribers, our networks are now choked and the mobile networks cannot handle more customers. So we've got this mad race for building out broadband in India, and that's the area that we contribute in. To give you a sense of the scale of the problem that we're dealing with, the US has about 100 million or so broadband connections. China has about 700 million. India has all of 30 million. So right now it's a giant open market. And the thing is, the Indian customer, our GDP per capita is just good enough to pay the monthly internet bill, but not good enough to pay for the setup cost. And that's why most people don't have a broadband connection. So what we do is we help you sort of buy one of our Wi-Fi routers, but we install and manage that for you in India. And hopefully you'll see us do that with other projects as well. But basically, help bring ridiculously fast, cheap internet access to India. That's what we do.
That's amazing. And do you have anything you can share showing like your current network or
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
show us what's going on? And by the way, when you were talking about the different sizing of US, China, and India, I couldn't help but think of, I don't know if you see that picture of like you are here in the universe and then it expands out showing like how big the actual galaxy and universe is.
Yeah, it's literally on that level of thing. So this is a small taste. This is the Dabba Explorer. If you go to dabba.network, you'll be able to access it. All of this stuff is public. This will give you a small taste of the size of the network that we have, but I should just let you guys know that basically in about a month that you see, every number that you see on screen will be doubling by about X because we've just done a ridiculous deployment that isn't reflected over here as yet. But to give you a sense of things, we've got nearly 2,000 hotspots deployed. Right now, we operate across 2 cities across India. We're serving about 45,000 devices at any given moment, and we've done more than 2,000 terabytes of bandwidth over the last couple of months. Here you can see our network is uptime of 100%, so we make sure that Wi-Fi is on all the time. You can see we're consuming something on the order of about 10 to 15 terabytes a day, which is frankly insane. At any given moment, there are about 6,000 devices, like phones, tablets, and that sort of thing. So that gives you a sense of what's what. One of the really fun features of how our system works is we actually aggregate small local cable operators across the country who do the on-ground connectivity themselves. So I'll give you a quick overview of this is one of our operators called Swami Wi-Fi. They're about 10 people. They've been running an internet service for about 10 years. We've got this really cool video intro of Mr. Mohan, who is the owner of the operator. He's got a bunch of hotspots deployed, consumes tons of bandwidth, things along those lines. So our Explorer is a great place to kick things off. You can see, for example, that the highest ranking hotspot on Swami's network has consumed about 6.2 terabytes worth of data just in the last sort of 2 months. And we've got a great amount of transparency. People can sort of browse through the network, see where the hotspot is located exactly, how many devices have connected to it over time, a whole bunch of data basically. So yeah, that's a sort of quick overview. If you get a chance, please check out our Explorer.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
and I
awesome.
wanted to just throw in, this is what one of our devices look like. So basically the way that it works and what makes us sort of fairly unique compared to most other deep end projects out there, is that we don't ship the device to you when you buy it. We actually install it and maintain it for you in a paying customer's home, office, wherever location in India. And the reason that we do this is we think that this allows us to match supply and demand more efficiently, because every single router that gets installed has someone paying for that internet connection and, thereby contributing value to the network.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite unique, and sounds like it's a really good fit in terms of matching the demand. So I know sometimes deep in projects have too much supply, not enough demand, but it seems like you really solved that problem. And by the way, I think I read somewhere you have like, how many LCOs do you guys have? So local cable operators? I
Yeah,
thought
so
it was
right
like
now in
quite
India,
large.
it's insane. So India is actually this little unique snowflake where when it comes to broadband connectivity, we don't have a single monopoly provider the way most other countries have. Instead, we have 150,000 tiny local cable operators that have a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand subscribers each. So it's this insanely fragmented system. All of these local cable operators, they started with satellite TV, every single one of them has a little dish antenna pointed at the sky. But the crazy thing is, India is moving wholesale towards streaming. Everybody's cutting the cord, so all of these operators either have to evolve or die. So we're taking all of the lessons that Uber and Airbnb and every single sort of gig economy company taught us over the last decade, and we're aggregating all of these providers, giving them the hardware, software, and support necessary to build and scale their networks. And we think that's the most efficient way that you could build out a grassroots decentralized network.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I can't believe that 150. Well, thank you for that overview. And so I was hoping now maybe you could give us some insight into, how WeatherXM and Dabba are working together.
Yeah. So there are actually a couple of layers to this of why WeatherXM deeply interests us. So first off, we've got huge love for Manos and the rest of the team. Like, we've known Manos for quite a while and been chatting for a bit, so we've always admired WeatherXM from afar. Starting a couple of months ago, we saw this unique opportunity where we think that we can do a real win-win for the WeatherXM community and for ours, where we're deploying something like 800 WeatherXM stations across India, I think within the next 45 to 60 days, if not less. Shipment is, I think, pretty much reached and hit customs and getting cleared. In fact, we've already deployed about 30 or 40 devices over the last month or so and tested them out and made sure that they've been running as well. But there are a couple of reasons why we're doing this. The first is we think WeatherXM's mission is incredibly important, especially with the way climate change and things are happening. Getting hyper-local, accurate weather data is going to be one of unbiased, verified weather data is going to be an incredibly important thing over the next decade or so. To give you a sense of why this hits home deeply to us in Bangalore is where we are. Bangalore is sort of the Silicon Valley of India. It's a city in the southern part of the country. You have all of the techies here, all of the big companies and the rest of that. But every single year when it comes to rainy season, the entire city gets flooded. It's insane. The whole place just gets to stand still. We have this running joke in Bangalore where software developers commute 1.5 hours to the office every day to build 10-minute grocery delivery apps. So for us, between our grocery delivery guys, our e-commerce guys, our software developers, we genuinely need better weather data so that A, just our transit times can be better, and B, that our city officials and other agencies have better ability to plan for the future. So on one level, we see genuinely a personal use case for WeatherXM. The second thing is for Dabba ourselves. We have a strong amount of the use of WeatherXM devices, because one of the things that Easter eggs that we have on our website and about our project, if anyone keenly looks out, is we're actually launching a laser communication system in a couple of months. And so we're replacing underground fiber optical cable, which is what really delivers the internet under the city. Like, if you're in your house right now, chances are your telco has underground fiber optical cable under the roads and that sort of thing. And they've got a cable from there to your house. But in developing nations like in India, that underground fiber cable does not exist at all. So what we actually do is on rooftops across the city, we install high-speed lasers that we develop. Think of this as a firm-end version of Starlink. We literally have a laser grid over the city that forms a core communication system. And then from that, individual internet connections are given to houses and that sort of thing. Well, Anyway, we'll talk about those things much later. But the short version is, for this communication system, we need hyper-accurate weather. So each one of our lasers is also paired with a WeatherXM unit so that we know exactly what's happening, because it's really important to the running of the system. The third
I mean,
thing is,
that's
sorry,
amazing.
please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's amazing to think that you guys are doing so much in terms of the connectivity and gathering
Yeah.
data and enabling this data transfer is just quite impressive.
And as for like core communications infrastructure, knowing what weather conditions is incredibly important to us. It makes life simpler when it comes to maintenance of the network. Being able to predict, hey, it's going to rain like crazy and there's a cyclone coming next month, so guaranteed we're going to have X downtime in Y area. All of these things are crazy important. So number one, yeah, internal use case for sure. The second reason we think it's incredibly fascinating, and the reason that we're deploying across the country, is we think we can actually bring a tremendous amount of value to the WeatherXM community, where in the same way that for connectivity, India's a greenfield market where there isn't much connectivity, when it comes to collection of weather data, India's a greenfield market as well. The entire subcontinent needs to be covered in WeatherXM units, because we need to get weather data across the country. And we think that we will be able to provide the on-ground infrastructure to make that happen for WeatherXM users and customers really easily. Because to tell you on a very practical level, if one of our local cable operators is taking the time and effort to drag an optical cable to somebody's house, plug in a router and get it working, they might as well be able to install a WeatherXM unit there. So we think that in the same way that we can offer a managed service for Wi-Fi, we think we'll be able to help the WeatherXM network expand as well. And so these 800 units that we're doing over the next month or so is sort of part of figuring out how that process is going to work, and making sure that it works well, because like I said, we're super bullish on WeatherXM and we would like to align ourselves with it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about this partnership. And, you said you've already set up 30 to 40. I've seen them on the Explorer start popping up in your area. And so I guess, what is your current rollout strategy? How are you determining which spots to deploy first? And, what's your strategy in terms of where to place the stations?
Yeah, so we're trying to aim as much useful coverage as possible. And our definition of useful is that ultimately collecting weather data is wonderful, but you really want to collect data where that data is going to be useful to somebody. So we're planning our deployment in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and rural towns. And the reason that we're doing this is the Indian government actually put out a tender about 3 months ago. And that's part of the reason that this spurred our deep level of interest in deploying WeatherXM, is the Indian government has also recognized that, hey, we need better weather data, and they are willing to pay for it. So they have put out this sort of tender saying, look, in these particular states and these particular areas, if you're able to provide weather data, the government themselves is willing to buy that data. So we are trying to map where the demand of people that are willing to pay for that data is to the deployment of that data. And we'll have a lot more details to talk about this in the future, or over the next 30 days or so, as you see deployments start to happen. But our focus has been very clearly Tier 1 towns, where people like quick commerce, e-commerce, and companies and that sort of thing have shown a strong willingness to pay for that data. Tier 2, Tier 3 towns, where the government has shown strong willingness to pay for data. And the other area that we've seen a huge amount of demand come from is engineering colleges actually want to start offering data simulation and that sort of thing to their students. So we're actually trying to do this thing where there's more than something like 800 engineering colleges spread across just the southern part of India. So we're really trying to figure out a full system where we can get a WeatherXM unit into each one of these colleges so that they have hyper-local data, but they also have access to the bigger network. But the short version is, where data will be paid for is where we intend to be installing the units, so that they are used as maximally efficiently as possible. Because like I talked about right at the beginning, one of our biggest goals is matching supply with demand at the end. You want an efficient as possible network.
Yeah, I love how you guys are doing that in terms of matching demand, in terms of where people want data, whether it's the government or these engineering schools. So it makes sense that you're doing that with WeatherXM, just like your, Wi-Fi works. Additionally, I guess I would love to see some pictures of your guys' setup. Like, how are you guys have, I guess, the Wi-Fi station, and are you using other DPN Legos outside of WeatherXM and your Wi-Fi when you set up these things? And maybe at the end, we can show some of the pictures of your guys' setups that we can plug in later.
Yeah, so pictures, I will have to find where they are because I know we
Okay.
have just started uploading them. As a matter of fact, I'm at home at the moment and one of the WeatherXM units is on top of my house because I wanted to personally make sure.
Yeah.
But yes, we do pair Wi-Fi hotspots with each one of the WeatherXM units because ultimately they need connectivity. As far
So,
as possible. Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
well, so they are all Wi-Fi based, I assume, right? You don't have any
All
of the
the
helium
units we're
stations, just
deploying are.
cellular. Okay.
Yeah, because you mentioned a key phrase, sort of deepen Legos. I'm going to do like a really quick little digression for a
Yeah.
moment because we've thought about this as a concept very deeply. And we think like a way to think about sort of Dabba and where we fit in crypto and in deepen is we have this idea of a layer zero deepen, right? It's good to think of breaking up deepen projects into sort of three layers. So layer two right on top would be software that you install on some hardware that you own that takes advantage of that. So a really good example is Filecoin or something that you can install and then share your GPU and that sort of thing, right? So you're
Hmm.
installing software that makes your hardware better. The second layer would be things closer to Hive Map or Helium and even WeatherXM to a certain extent, where you take a WeatherXM, but you need a Wi-Fi connection or a LoRa connection or some sort in order. It's hardware that makes other hardware better, that takes advantage of an existing network. So you buy a
Hmm.
Hive Mapper, but you need a card to plug that into. All right. One layer below that is what we're calling layer zero, which is sort of where Dabba fits, where you're building that base layer of infrastructure, but infrastructure doesn't even exist in the first place. Right. So in a lot of places, we're dealing power and connectivity at the same location. And all of these sorts of opportunities to build these things are found in emerging markets. But what's really powerful about them is if you build a layer zero deepen, they are very long term and very resilient because you're building that base layer. Now, once you start to get that base layer right, the ability to serve as a platform for other deepen projects and other things to sit on top of it becomes incredibly easy. Like I mentioned, this is one of the reasons that we're doing WeatherXM, because if we're going to take
Yeah.
the effort to deliver power and connectivity somewhere, it becomes very easy for us to put a WeatherXM unit at that location. So we think about deepen and deepen Lego building blocks incredibly deeply and thoughtfully, and you'll see us expanding on this idea over the next couple of months. And we
Well,
really hope that WeatherXM is going to play a key role in this.
I think this is an amazing story on many levels. One, it's not easy. As an individual, you have your rooftop, you can place it, but so it's not easy to find these places. So it's nice that you guys already have areas where you can put the weather stations, and obviously the connectivity on that makes total sense. But I was actually just looking at some stats, and I think after our deployment, I don't know, is it 800 or 700 you guys are deploying? But I think we're going to be
800 units, I believe.
800 units. So I believe the largest collection of weather station networks was about 700 in India total. And so we're essentially going to be doubling the total number of weather stations in India and becoming the largest mesonet within India that I know of today. So it's quite
And we're
impressive.
going
And
to do that
yeah,
in the
yeah.
next 60 days, and then we're going to scale that 10x over the coming year for sure.
I mean, that's super exciting. I think, our understanding of, the world, the climate, the weather in India is going to drastically increase. So I can't help but be excited about this. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Maybe you want to share where, our audience can follow you on Twitter or Discord.
Yeah, for sure. I think the best place to follow us is on Twitter. We're at Dabba Network. Of course, if you go to dabba.com, you can learn more about the project and join our Discord as well. And just as a little nugget of info, we've got special offers coming soon for WeatherXM customers and amazing collabs, which you'll see us drop fairly shortly. So keep an eye out for that.
Excellent. Yeah. And we'll put all those details in the show notes. And it's been a pleasure meeting you, Karam, and talking to you. And I'm excited to see where the partnership goes.
Thank you. Great talking as well. And here's to a great 2025.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.